My name is Lisa E. On behalf of Orange County Realtors Global Business Alliance Committee, it's our pleasure to present you today's panel, Understanding Your Client's Culture. And today I will be moderating with our lovely committee members that are on the panel. First, I will let them to have a chance to do a self-intro. So I will have Spencer. Spencer, why don't you start?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Spencer Hu. I am a founding member of the Global Business Alliance and the past chair for 2018 and 2019. Also involved with California Association of Realtors Global Real Estate Forum as their immediate past chair. Welcome, everyone.
Next, we have Christina Fu.
Hi, good afternoon all. My name is Christina Fu and I'm a local independent broker here in Orange County. I'm also a licensed mortgage officer. I've been with the member of Orange County Realtors Global Business Alliance since 2018, and I'm also a certified international property specialist. I'm fluent in English and Mandarin Chinese. I typically work with Southern California clientele and also with international clientele from China or from Taiwan, who are looking to either relocate to our region or some who are looking for investments here in Irvine that offer stable growth and a higher rate of rent income potential. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And next we'll have Lata.
Hi, my name is Lata Chobanputra. I'm a realtor based in Southern California. I have been realtor since 2005 and a member of Global Business Alliance Committee since 2018. Other than serving the general market clients here in US, I also serve clients from India and of Indian origin. In addition to English, I am fluent in Hindi, Gujarati, Kutchi, Sindhi, and Marwari. I also speak Marathi and I can manage transactions, I can manage communication in Punjabi. I represent Orange County Realtors at California Association of Realtors in director capacity. I hold several designations from National Association of Realtors and California Association of Realtors, including Certified International Property Specialist. I am the founding member and secretary of FIAPSI, International Real Estate Federation's Los Angeles Southern California Council. I'm also a member of other network group trade groups like ARIA, NAREP. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we'll have Elizabeth Otok.
Hello, I am very honored to be part of the panel today on how cultures impact the transaction. My name is Elizabeth Altok, and I am a broker associate at HomeSmart Evergreen Realty in Mission Viejo. I hold a bachelor degree in International Business Administration from California State University, Fullerton. I have been serving in residential and investment as well as property management clientele in South Orange County and Lake Arrowhead for over 23 years. 50% of my clients are from Eastern Europe. I have been a member of Global Business Alliance Committee of Orange County for 2 years.
Thank you. Next we'll have Alessia.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alessia Drozdova. I'm a realtor at Orange County Realtors. I work with HomeSmart Evergreen Realty in Irvine, California. I'm a founding member and the 2020-2021 vice president for Los Angeles Southern California Council at FIAPSI USA. I'm also an immediate past chair of Global Business Alliance at Orange County Realtors and the director and a member of Global Real Estate Forum at California Association of Realtors. I've been working with global clients since 2005, and I'm your Eastern European, Russian, and Ukrainian connection. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you. Next we have Tina. Tina Vo.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tina Vo. I have been a member of Orange County Realtor Global Business Alliance Committee for 4 years. I am a realtor for 17 years, and I'm currently with Remax Terrace in Huntington Beach. I'm a certified international property specialist. I'm Vietnamese and bilingual, and I speak Vietnamese fluently.
Thank you. Thank you. Next we have Kana.
Hi, my name is Kana Makino. I'm with Angel and Volkers in Newport Beach. I'm originally from Japan and speak Japanese fluently, born and raised there. Many of my clients are from Japan and other Asian countries. I've been serving as a committee member for Orange County Realtors Global Business Alliance for 2 years. And I am National Association's Realtors Designated CIPS, Certified International Property Specialist, SRES, Senior Real Estate Specialist. Before I became realtor a long time ago, I was always like doing the international business. And I was serving for Japanese and other foreign corporations as my clients, basically trading, importing, exporting businesses, and traveling all over the world.
Thank you. Next we'll have Gita.
Good afternoon. My name is Gita Amiri, independent broker, owner GM Realty, GM Financial, and partner with Rocket Pro or Rocket Mortgage. As a real estate broker and a loan officer with more than 30 years experience, I have my master's degree in business and economics. That encouraged me to get involved in real estate transaction and become members in different associations and get more related educational certification, like Global Business Alliance. I've been there for 5 years. Certified International Property Specialist, CIPS, At Home with Diversity, AHWD, which introduced a wealth of knowledge and diversity in every transaction which I was involved. 50% of my transactions have been international, 50% local. I am Iranian American, Persian, and I speak Farsi. Thank you.
Thank you. All our panels were wonderful introduction. Today, I'll ask our panels a few questions, and they will answer with their past experience and in serving real estate clients. If any of the audience have questions, feel free to put in the Q&A box so we will see them and we will answer hopefully toward the end of our presentation. And also we will have all our panelists to put in their contact info in the chat box. So for your future reference, if you have any clients that are from these regions, or if you have any questions further you wanted to connect with these panelists, please feel free to do so afterwards. Now, I will go on to the question part. The first question, how do you prepare your first meeting with your clients? And this time we will start with Christina.
Well, actually, normally if I'm planning to meet a client first, I try to schedule initial meeting first over either coffee or perhaps lunch for discussion on the purchase process, or maybe prior to looking at homes if I already had a phone conversation with them. I do plan to meet them to be dressed either professionally or either in business casual. And I try to definitely arrive on time so they won't be waiting for me when I get there. For most local Chinese Americans or most Chinese or Taiwanese coming to visit for vacation or for business, first time introductions, usually it's pretty simple, either a handshake or just a nod to show some sincerity or respect towards one another. Once you sit down, you might want to engage in some small talk with them to see how their travel overseas, maybe on their flight, how it is once they got here, if they're, adjusted with the time over here in California, and see if they've already visited some places in the local area here in Orange County. Oftentimes they ask me for suggestions like to local restaurants or beaches or shopping, definitely here in Orange County. So of course there's South Coast and Fashion Island and Irvine Spectrum. So those are pretty typical ideas I give them. Once you kind of get acquainted, I would probably switch back and get down to business. So then if your clients are a couple, definitely speak to both of them and kind of get what they're trying to purchase, whether it's a home for themselves to move to, or perhaps it's a investment home. Then as you get to know them more, probably speak to the wife a little bit more, since most likely they're going to be the ones who is going to make the ultimate decision on which home they're probably going to buy. As all you females know out there, right? Home is where the heart is, and that's where most likely we're going to decide on what floor plan we like. So that would be my suggestion. But of course, when you're taking them to go look at homes, it's best to always remember to engage both and find out what they are both looking for.
Wow. Next, we will have Lata for the same question. How do you prepare for your first meeting with your clients? Lata, you're muted.
Dressed professionally, I always arrive at my meeting place 10 minutes early. And but don't be surprised if your clients show up a little late. That's normal for them. Depending on the price range, some of the clients won't care whether you are dressed professionally or casual or whatever. So that's something you need to keep in mind. But say hello, hi, even sometimes they'll shake hands. They're adopted, Indians have adopted to Western style of greeting, but you can always greet them by saying namaste, hold your hands and say namaste. That will earn you some brownie points with them. When I'm talking to them, I'll usually talk to both of them because otherwise my men will find it offending if you don't talk to. Ladies are the ones who will make the decision, but the final approval comes from men. So don't ignore men because they are the one who will be putting the final seal on the transactions. They are the one who will be writing the check. And of course your paycheck too, right, indirectly. But after a couple of visits, you'll mostly be communicating with the lady. She will talk to you more. Men will be kind of in background, they don't have time. Ladies will find time to talk to you and let you know what the reaction is and what they like, what they didn't like, what the next step is and all. And just to understand them better, I also ask them some questions like what kind of cultural difference they feel between India and US. And how the kids feel about this move. Are they excited? Are they looking forward to it? Because sometimes they leave all their friends behind and come here, so they're starting all over again. So they are not that excited, but again, they are coming to US, so that's excitement for them. And just ask them if they have any other family here. And that kind of help you connect with them.
All right, thank you. Next, we'll have Elizabeth Oltok. Same question. How do you prepare for your first meeting with your clients?
Yes, well, definitely dress for success, dress professionally and rather classy as you first meet them. As I first meet my clients, that's usually what I do. Always greet the lady of the house first, and of course greet both of them, but usually a lady first and with the handshake. As far as the personal space, my Polish clients have a little bit wider personal space, so I don't get too close to them at first when I first meet them. We meet various places, depends how I get introduced to them. But a lot of my business comes from my sphere of influence. So I either meet them already in their house, or maybe I met them at some get together in other houses of Polish people. So usually I meet them in the house versus restaurants. And always arrive on time, be respectful. Polish clients absolutely embraced Wild West customs here and very quickly. However, later on when I do any correspondence with them, also when you address letters, I address Mrs. first and put her name first and then the men. That's just something that we do over there, and I think that's what they like. Let's see. I think, I don't know, what else should I add to it, or is this good?
That's good. We will have some more time at the end. If you think of something that you can add into it, we will do that at that time. So next we will have Gita.
Yes, well, I would say you should always, when you meet your clients, say hi or hello and ask them, how are you? A handshake is okay. After you're done, let's say you should follow them to the door and say goodbye. So first, hello, and then always follow them. You should arrive on time. Even you can call the day before to confirm the appointment. You don't need really to be formal, but you need to be more businesslike and dress professionally. During the first meeting, I usually ask questions like, how do they like California? How they like the weather? How was their traffic? Or how did they like the traffic? You can ask them if they like coffee or tea. And I used to have them, most of them in the office, of course, since I've been in the market for a long time. Iranian, they drink more tea than coffee. Now, in regards to whether you should talk to the man or woman, you can call them and ask questions. You should be able to judge after you see who is asking more questions. Nowadays, most Iranians are the younger generation, so they probably know many things, but it still would be good to ask questions. Culturally, yes, men are more familiar with the finances, and women are decision makers. I would say listen to both of them. It really depends who's asking and who you will feel and make your judgment. Thank you.
Wow, great. Next we will have Alicia.
Okay, so I will begin with maybe speaking not just about the Russian and Ukrainian clients, but just the foreign clients. So the first thing I do when I get a call or I get a message is learning about the culture they're coming from. So there are several resources that I would like to share with you, and just remind, let's not underestimate what we have and the opportunity to pull the information about specific countries like CIA. Who would think that CIA would have a resource for us realtors? But you can actually go and check the world facts and pull the information about the country from the CIA website. It's an open resource, and it's absolutely, you know, underestimated, but really, really valuable. And they also go to the specific target country embassy in the United States and just read about the culture a little bit to make myself familiar. Now, speaking about Russian and Ukrainian clients, the society there is very well educated with a very well established business etiquette. So when you first show up to a meeting with a client from that region, definitely make a point of dressing for success. They do appreciate your look and how you talk. and how well educated you are, how aware of their culture you are. So all these things are very important. And there is this famous figure skating coach, Tatiana Tarasova, who produced many Olympic champions from Russia. She used to say there is no detail that is too small. So pay attention to every single detail when you are working with a foreign client, especially from that region. And one of the things, shaking hands, yes, we do shake hands. And this handshake is very important. Don't be weak on a handshake, but also don't overpower the person you're talking to, because that might be looked as a little bit inappropriate. And finally, yes, definitely arrive early, because they will be watching you. They will never make a comment, but they will make an opinion about how professional you are. And one of the things, and if you get a phone call from your Russian or Ukrainian client and you don't get a message, that's normal. They don't talk to machines, they talk to people. So before you make any opinion about that phone call, make sure to call back and make sure to talk to the person, because it's very common, especially for people who are coming from there, who do not live permanently in the United States. They will not talk to the machine most of the time. And speaking about women and men, women are pretty much emancipated there. So just watch, like Gita was saying, just watch who is asking the questions, because it's very difficult just to, to say that, oh, it's a man who makes the decision. Pretty often it's actually a woman who makes the decision, and women are bringing bread to the table as well as men. So in this respect, definitely pay attention to how they interacting with you. And I guess that's about it.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Alicia. Next, we have Kana. Same question.
Hi, yes. So for just generally speaking, for Japanese clients, it just arrive on time or a little early. And here in California, I would, some other Japanese agents probably dress more business, but I would go with more business casual. Either they are visiting or they're immigrated and living here. They already have, like, at least for the attires concerned, pretty much adjusted to the business casual and a casual attire. It's probably because back in Japan, it's still like really they are more like forced to wear suits and tie and like more formal office attire. So once you're here visiting or even living, they're kind of like want to liberate themselves. So I think I'm just gonna go with it. And yeah, icebreaker conversation topic would be very like not intimate, very formal thing like weather. And then another things that we always talk about is like how long you've lived here and how many times you visited here in Southern California. How do you like it? Or another thing is like, where are you from? Like, where are you from means like, of course, you're not talking about the country, like the region, and especially like Osaka or Tokyo and the West or East, and the people from the West has a very strong accent dialect, and then you can really detect. So like if you would be able to say like, oh, I like Kyoto, Osaka, and that area, and that'll be a really good icebreaker questions. And who you talk to, lady of the house or man, it's interesting. Of course, it's just like Alicia and Gita was saying, like you have to like really judge by just looking at who's talking. But interestingly, the generally most of the time it just really depends on also generations. If they're older couple, then no matter what, pretty much after all, man has the decision making, like the final say. But if younger couple, many times, yeah, boys cannot like really decide unless finally the woman has to say, yeah, go for it. So that's pretty much the culture these days. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we'll have Tina. Same question. How do you prepare for your first meeting with your clients?
Anyway, for general, at my first meeting, I arrive on time or a few minutes early. You know, for Vietnamese, you should not arrive too early because the wife may be not ready to greet you. So just a few minutes early, but not 10 or 15 minutes early. And then you come in, you shake hand with, well, as a male realtor, okay? Well, this is, I'm talking about general now. As a male realtor, you should shake hand with the husband with both hands and not lightly nod your head to the wife. But as a female realtor, you should not shake hands. You just lightly nod your head to the husband and the wife and say, hello, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, or chào ông, or chào bà. And then you come in, you should take off your shoes for respect to the house, to their house, unless they tell you not to. So you come in, you just look around and find something nice about the house for icebreaker, okay? And then if they usually ask you for tea or coffee, take coffee or tea. And if they offer you food, say politely no, because you wanted to sit down and start conversation and all that. So if they ask you to sit down and you talk to the husband first and then to the wife, but be sure if you are a female realtor, do not stare at the husband, and because the wife may be jealous. And as a male realtor, you should not stare at the wife. That's how it is with our culture. And so just be neutral gender. That's it. Thank you.
So Spencer, same question. How do you prepare for your first meeting with your client?
So great answer so far. I think a lot of it is what we do as well. So I'll just add some of the more detailed or other items. So definitely when we're meeting with clients, we like to schedule them to the office so you have control. Definitely if it's a listing, then what Tina was doing, that makes sense. Right now with COVID, of course, everything's changed a little bit, but with the office, basically we would set up either a cup of water or a bottle of water. And when they get there, ask them if they wanted tea or coffee or hot water. So having everything prepared. So of course you're going to be there beforehand. And what we like to do, which worked for us, was basically do a small presentation. So hopefully before you have scheduled them to your office, you would have been able to have some general conversation with them on what they're looking for, why they're purchasing or why they want to purchase, what specific areas, and why, what are the important factors. So a lot of our clients we were working with the Chinese coming from mainland China, purchasing in Orange County or Los Angeles County areas. So school district was very important. So we would basically have maps and all those school ratings as far as what you can find online. They basically have usually done their own research as well. So they'll know specific school names, and you can point out locations, potential communities that are around the specific locations. point out amenities, so where the shopping is, where the parks are, where the hospitals are. Hospitals very important for the Chinese clients as well. How quick it is to get to the freeway, how quick it is to get to an airport, and how quick it is to get to a beach. Something else we would do is basically, if we knew they were looking for brand new communities, we would have some of the marketing materials already prepared. So we can show them potential floor plans, the exterior facades, the community layout, and where the amenities are within the community. So those always work well. And then as far as how we greet them, very similar. So it's either a handshake or a head nod or a small bow. Not a full bow, that's not very traditional, but a small bow. And then how we address them, and of course this takes some guessing, but if they're slightly older than you, then address them as big sister or big brother. And of course, this is only after you have built some rapport. Otherwise, it's going to come off very strange. And then if they're very much older than you are, then address them as aunt or uncle. And I'm sure other Asian cultures are very similar. And that's just, again, further building on that rapport, trying to get them to become closer rapport with you. And then I think that's the general information that I have when we're meeting with new clients. Basically, try to provide them as much information that matches what you already know they're looking for.
Thank you, Spencer. I think, Spencer, your voice, your sound, and your visual is a little bit choppy. You might want to check your connection real quick. And next we will, our second question, how do you initiate the talk of money? As we all know, that during the transaction in real estate, nowadays the first thing we always have to be aware is the financing situation of our client. So how do you initiate the talk of money? When do you start explaining the home buying process to your clients? Is it the first meeting, or maybe the second meeting, or during the first visit of a showing? And this time we will start with Alessia.
Okay, so I guess the money question is the toughest question for some reason for us realtors. So I normally have this conversation at my first meeting, and the truth is no money, no transaction. So you need to be prepared to understand whether you will be spending your time for a real project and with a real client or not. One very important thing is that our societies are very much alike, but also pretty much different in many respects. And money is one of those items, and also the transparency. So when we in America, when we talk to our clients who are domestic clients, it's a fairly simple question. You refer them to the lender pre-approves them, and you are a happy realtor who takes them by hand and starts showing homes. When you talk to someone from not all of Eastern Europe, I'm not gonna take over Elizabeth's area, so I'll just speak about the Russians and Ukrainians. But when you talk to them, they're not as transparent. They would be very, very candid about speaking about their money and their assets and their income. So it's a delicate subject, but you have to have this conversation upfront and set up the tone for the whole transaction and explain how things are done in America and offer them an opportunity to share with you where the funds are coming from. There will be questions about bringing money in the suitcase. It's a no-no, of course. We don't do that. So you might want to be prepared to discuss all cash offers as really not cash at all. It's just a wire transfer from your bank or from their bank in the country of origin. And my recommendation would be make sure that you have a very solid global mortgage lender on your team. Be sure that you educate yourself about the opportunity of getting a loan for a foreign national or a loan for a local resident who is not considered a resident, someone who works here on a work visa but is not a green card holder, because there are many of those who are legitimately living in the United States, paying taxes, but they are not US citizens, and as not citizens and not green card holders, they oftentimes cannot get the same mortgage product as the domestic buyers. So be sure that you understand all these things. You don't have to be a pro, but you need to at least have very meaningful conversation with your prospect. They come to you not as a door or key holder and not as someone who opens the doors. They come to you as a consultant, and they see a consultant in your face. So this is something that I do prepare for before my initial conversation, and they talk about it at our first meeting. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. And since you mentioned Elizabeth, you wanted to follow up with that?
Sure, I'll be happy to. Before I follow up with that question, I would like to go back, and a couple of things came to my mind when I was listening to other panelists. So when we first meet and people ask if you would like water or tea, I usually do take a drink when they offer me, even if I'm not thirsty, just because you want to be polite and you want to accept whatever they're offering you. Usually they won't offer you dinner and stuff, just tea or coffee or water. And another thing I was thinking about is that when I pull up to my client's house, I try to pull up on the other side of the street. I never pull up directly in front of their house, just to be visible, so they know, because they're probably watching if I'm coming, so they know that I'm coming. And another thing, I will never park on their driveway, just because of the respect. So that's just a couple of things that I was thinking when I was listening to other panelists. As far as how to initiate the talk of money, and when you start explaining the home buying process, I explained the home buying process very quickly after we meet and after initial greetings and discussions of where you are from Poland and what cities you visited and so on. A lot of times we will talk a little bit about when I went back to Poland and how often I do go back, how often they go back to Poland. And then after the initial talk, we will go back and talk about finances and about process of buying. We do not talk directly about sum of monies. How much money do you have in the bank? We talk in general. Basically, I will explain that first they need to talk to a lender, and I go over that process with them. And believe it or not, surprising to me on the beginning was that a lot of my clients, they love to work with lenders that are American lenders. Sometimes they even ask me, do you have someone that is not Polish? I don't know why, but they just feel comfortable. Somehow they think that that person knows the process. And so I do have several lenders that I put them together with. I personally do not talk with them numbers. I just refer them to the lender, and I kind of stay out of their financing, usually because I don't want to be nosy. They don't like when people are nosy. They don't like when you know too much about them. I think that's the approach that I take, but I'm sure there's other approaches that will work. This is just something that I usually do, and it works well for me.
Thank you. And next we will have Lata. How do you initiate the talk of money? And when do you start explaining the home buying process?
Okay, I have a buyer presentation that I always go over with my buyers. That explains a little bit the process, what process it is, what is involved. For international buyers, I have little more detail where I show them the importance of financing, how important it is when we make an offer. We should have everything in place. And then I ask them how they plan to pay for their new home. And if they say they plan to finance, I'll ask them if they have talked to any lender. And if they haven't, I'll offer list of my lenders that they can talk to. And sometimes they'll tell you to choose the lender for themselves. They will not talk to any lender. They say, just give us one lender, we'll talk to that lender. And they'll even, if by this time, if you have established enough rapport with them, they will ask you to be there with them. And they want you to be part of this whole process. And they would ask you more questions than lender because they feel more comfortable with you. But they are pretty, it is a sensitive subject, but they will realize once you explain to them how important it is. But one important thing at this point is that don't forget to tell them that any property on the market, you can show them. They don't have to go to 10 different realtors to see property in 10 different areas. It's only one database that we all realtors access, and we all have access to same properties. So make sure you explain to them, otherwise they'll keep jumping from one realtor to another in different cities, and they'll talk to everybody because they think every realtor has a listing in their pocket that nobody else knows. So that's it.
Thank you, Lata. That's a great advice. Next we'll have Geeta. Geeta, you're muted.
Sorry, I guess I asked them what type of house they're looking, what price range, what is their initial investment and that they're willing to pay as a down payment, so I would know about what they're looking. After that, you find out more about their request. You can ask them if they know about FICO score, if they know about credit report, if they have been pre-qualified with any lenders or not. So that's where you can tell them if they have, because sometimes they do have with a bank account and they want to go with their own bank, that's fine, but you can ask them or give them if they want 3 lenders to be qualified if they haven't been. I will ask them if they're first-time buyer or not, if they're renting or not. Let them know that you are member of MRMLS. We are all have access, as Lata was saying, to the data, and we can show the properties and history of the pending sold of the properties. Yes, you should go through process of the buying a home. If you have a chart, give them a copy and explain to them. I would say always try to explain and educate them. That's the key. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And next we'll have Kana. How do you initiate the talk of money? When do you start explaining the home buying process?
Yes. Like other people are saying, you have to like really, be clear from the get-go. Like in the very beginning, if you're very serious about buying a house, I mean, for the buyer's case, you have to, I have to know what you're looking for, but at the same time, how much you are planning on putting down. Like, are you financing or you buying cash, and then what's your budget? And then most of the time when they tell me that, they really kind of like a lot of times, and they come from like just real, like not based on the reality, just like just big idea of like, oh, we could probably afford this much. And then a lot of times what I do is I have this like financial calculator that would just like really punching the numbers and then showing that how much you're gonna end up paying months. A lot of times, just turned out, especially with the Japanese people's case, a lot of times they can afford like much more than they think. And then like I'm going to show the difference of the monthly payment if you buy it now at this rate. And then the FICO score also really affect to your the rate as well. So all these things that really kind of like vaguely figure out. Yes, they're gonna end up getting that from the lender, but a lot of times lender wouldn't like really explain. So and especially like Elizabeth was saying, many times they ended up like being the non-Japanese speaking lenders. So some of my clients are actually copying me in all transaction with communication with the lender, just to make sure that they're, like, they get all this information. So that kind of like more of like really in detailed explanation and what's going to happen and what you'll have to look at too. But at the same time, really, you have to also understand their priority. They make good money, they have a great score, doesn't mean, and then they can qualify for this much money, doesn't mean that they want to actually spend this much money for the house. They have maybe other priorities. I got this client, they are spending like $3,000 for 3 kids as extracurricular activities like ballet lessons, soccer team, and blast band and stuff like that. And they didn't really want to give up. Sure, then like you're gonna have to like go with it. That's like what I would normally do. Thank you.
Thank you, Kana. And next, let's have Tina. Are you still on Zoom with us?
Yes.
There
Yeah,
you
hi.
go. I see you
Hi.
now. So let's have you share how do you initiate the talk of money and when do you start explaining the home buying process with your clients?
Well, I usually talk about financing with them, and at my first meeting, after I met with them, have coffee and something like that, and then just look at them and just kind of like smile and said that, are you ready to buy a house? And then if they say yes, I just gonna ask if are you going to pay all cash or get a loan? If they get a loan, I will ask them if they have been pre-qualified or pre-approved by a lender, and how much down payment they have. Usually they tell me not in dollar, but like, oh, I have 20% or 30%. And if they don't have a lender, I recommend a lender, a Vietnamese lender that I know, because they want a Vietnamese lender so they can explain and speak to them in Vietnamese. About the listing, I tell them that, if they have email address, and I said, I will, well, at first I wanted to know the price range that they feel comfortable with, and so and how many bedroom and all that, criteria of a home. Then I will search. I tell them I will search MOS and will send them the listing that may match their criteria, and they will look at the listing, and if they like it, and they will let me know yes or no. And I tell them, if you like the property, then I will make appointment to show them home and all that. So that's how I do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. And next we'll have Christina. How do you initiate the talk of money, and when do you start to explain the home buying process?
From the start, I either will go through with an initial meeting when we first meet, or probably on a prior phone call or on WeChat if it's an international client. I typically give them the overview of our purchase process here in the US and explain that it will always require them to show their financials along with the offer that we are going to make on any property here. So most of the time, they generally disclose if their plan is to obtain a loan or how much percentage down they're going to place on the house itself, or perhaps they're going to make a cash offer. And they also at that time kind of tell me what kind of property they're planning to buy, whether it's for themselves to relocate here or to buy an investment home to rent out. At the same time, some clients, whether they're international clients or if they're local clients, they may need assistance to obtain a loan, then they kind of discuss that about that during the meeting or the phone call. And from that point on, I would probably either ask if they wanted help from myself, or perhaps I have other lenders or banks that offer foreign loans to have that info or their contact info to share with them at that time. So then they can speak with them directly. And also with international clients, you may want to refer them sometimes to banks if they're not planning to, say, move their money through the money transfer companies or just directly by banks like HSBC or other banks that are located internationally in China or in Taiwan.
Thank you. And Spencer, hopefully you're still with us.
I'm still here, just no video.
Okay. Do you want to talk about how you initiate the talk of money, and when do you start to explain the home buying process to your clients?
Yeah, no problem. So for us, again, we like to do a sit down, more formal presentation up front. And one of the printouts that we prepared is basically a generalized summary of the home buying process. And on that, there is basically information, as Christina was mentioning, that with any offers that are submitted, they need to basically have either a loan pre-approval or a funds, or both, in order to get that offer sent in. So planting seeds ahead of time, so when you do ask for it later on, they're not going to kind of be shocked and saying, why do you need this information? And same thing, and I think it's an Asian thing, everyone is very secretive about their money or financial situation. So it's kind of a push and pull type of a thing. So you want to make sure that they are expecting that, yes, they need to provide that, otherwise it's not going to happen. With China specifically, it's very difficult for them to move money out of China. So you want to make sure that they understand and know that their money needs to be here in the US before they can either do that full cash, all cash purchase, or use it for down payment funds. And certain lenders have requirements as far as what's called a seasoning, meaning the money needs to be here in the US account for a minimum amount of months before the lender will qualify it as down payment funds. And the reason is basically with China, the money, they can't really do the sourcing, where it came from, where it moved from between the banks in China, unfortunately. The other thing is when they're pulling their, basically their proof of funds, in a sense, some of them do have their funds in China, which you will use initially, but again, the lenders will not disqualify that usually. But when you're asking for that in China, asking for a proof of funds, which is equivalent to basically a balance statement or balance letter, that will lock up the funds. So that's not what you're going to be asking for. You're asking for basically a monthly statement to show the basically end of month balance, and that's enough. And they basically need to know they need to move that money or whatever the required amount of money is pretty much over to the US before anything can happen. You'll need to understand the basics as far as how the loans work, as far as the foreign national loans, what the down payment amounts are, kind of what type of loan programs they are, the kind of the interest rate range, because your client's going to be asking you about that and you want to have a knowledgeable answer. You want to know how certain banks work. So HSBC, for instance, has a premier banking program. If the client has a premier banking status in China, they actually have an internal department that can help arrange moving certain amounts of money, not the full amount, but they can arrange moving certain amounts of money. So all in all, basically you want to be knowledgeable in certain things so you can advise your clients to go make inquiries into certain things. You're not going to be the expert, but you're going to say, these are things that our other clients have done. Please confirm with your service providers.
Thank you, Spencer. We have a very relevant question came in. Do you have them sign the buyer's agreement when you meet with them and explain with the home buying process? Anybody wanted to share?
I can share and say, after that, you build a trust. Their time is valuable. Your time is valuable. So that's the time I would ask them to sign a broker agent agreement. I think that, so initially, because sometimes they don't know. I know back home in Iran, I have seen that they go to different agents. So they might not know, especially the one that they come from overseas. The one they hear, they might know, but I would definitely try to ask them at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Elizabeth?
As far as my Polish clients, I typically do not have them sign buyer-broker agreement. However, I do have extensive discussions with them on how we make money and how we have the listings in multiple listing service where everybody can show all the listings. And so typically my clients, they look everywhere on all the websites that are possible. Of course, everybody does these days. They have their computer with them in their hand every minute. And most of the time they will call me and tell me what they want to see because it already is on the market for 5 minutes. But usually they do not sign the buyer-broker agreement. I don't ask them to sign it, but I explain to them that my time, how much time I invest in this business, and that's how I make money. If they go with another agent, basically I work for free. And most of the time they do call me, even if they see some other listings somewhere, or even if it's by owner, they will still call me. I explain to them, even if it's listed by owner, we still come in, make an offer, and I represent them. Thank you.
And Tina?
Okay, for Vietnamese clients, most of them do not want to sign buyer-broker agreement. So my job is to show them my dedication, my hard work, and by the way I give them good services, so they can trust me and they go with me, but they do not want to sign buyer-broker agreement.
Lata?
It is hard to get buyers to sign buyer-broker agreement, but I keep stressing to them that the way I make money is all the time that I spend, there is only one way they can compensate me is by buying through me. And I have some buyers who will call me or text me, we want to see this house. If they go into open house, they take my card and they say, here is my agent. We work with this agent. So there are my buyers who are very dedicated to me. And in that case, I do not insist on them signing because I know they will come back to me. And by pressuring them, I might lose them.
Yeah, that's good.
So I don't want to do that.
Alicia?
No, it's a very delicate subject, and I understand that many people are intimidated by the fact that the buyer can walk away and go with a different agent. But if we cannot, well, first of all, without this agreement, they're not your clients. You're just spending time with them. When you have an agreement in place, this is when you become their agent. And we can go back and forth about it, but in all the reality, you know, I sit with my clients or with my prospective clients at the first meeting, and I explain to them that this agreement allows me to represent them. And for Russian speaking and Ukrainian speaking clients, remember that there is no license requirements in their country and respective countries. And basically anyone, including neighbor John, can sell real estate to them there. So when they come here, they are under impression still, you know, I go through educating them that this is how things are done in America. And local contracts there, not only they're very important, they're more important than anything else, than any promise to work together. They're signed in blue ink and they're sealed with the seals, which we don't do in America. And I always explain to them the way for them to get out of our agreement is when I break it. And if they're not happy with me, they're free to go. They can walk away with a written note stating why they're walking away. That gives me peace of mind, but most importantly, that gives them peace of mind that they're working with a professional, they understand it, they respect that if you can stand for your own, you know, well-being, then you will stand for theirs as well. Otherwise, if you cannot protect your own commission, how will you be protecting their valuable assets? So this is in regards to relationship with the Russian and Ukrainian buyers. And with the sellers, you have to sign a listing agreement. So I don't understand why is it different. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And anybody else wanted to share on this note? Otherwise, we'll move on. All right. So I'm going to shuffle a little bit since we're talking about the transaction and transaction process. Do you have any experience with your clients that are having questions about escrow services or notary services that you need to spend more time explaining to them what those are and why those are important? So we can start with Christina.
Well, for clients, whether they're here locally or from internationally, I advise them to, well, especially for the international clients, if they've actually already selected a house prior to coming here, sometimes I help them purchase homes or make a decision just even by viewing the homes for them here and then sending them videos. This is kind of prior to our lockdown and pandemic coronavirus last year, but I guess now it's pretty typical. Then they would only have to be here for probably the 30 days or the 3 weeks that we need to close escrow. So of course, prior to that, I've explained to them the home buying process and also the escrow transaction and what will need to occur, whether it's for the inspections, for them to be here to meet with their lender if they're getting a loan, and also for them just to make any adjustments, or even if they're planning to rent their place out, just to kind of decide if they want to add any renovations to their homes before they do so, or before they move in. So many times this process, if they are traveling for internationally, can start from 6 months or even so earlier in that, kind of how Spencer mentioned it. Well, first of all, they need to get their money here unless it's already been transferred. That takes time and it needs to be seasoned. If they do plan to come here, sometimes you may also want to recommend some hotel or local Airbnb or short-term rental places for them to stay in for either it's the short-term 3 weeks or 2 weeks, or even the longer term 3 months for them to actually be here with you to look at homes and find a place, make an offer and get the escrow going. So those are all typical of somebody who's coming from overseas to make a purchase here from either China or from Taiwan. But the best is from the start, whether it's your initial meeting like I explained or from a phone call, explain the whole process to them because that way they know what to expect and what kind of timeline if they're looking for.
Yeah, I think more specifically, because not every country has escrow, and not every country that utilize notary services like we do. So just in case if you experience that clients having questions or additional concern on these services, how do you let them feel comfortable? Do you personal show them, the process, this is how it's done, and you can trust these people, or you actually personally go with them on signing or making their initial deposit with escrow and so on?
It really depends on the individual client themselves. Some of them, if they're like a repeat investor, they're pretty in US, they're pretty knowledgeable about our process. For ones who haven't purchased yet, maybe a first time home buyer or investor or coming here, they're very, very familiar with the notary process as they've gone to their own embassies and notarization back in their own countries. But for escrow service, it's a little bit different. But when you're explaining from the beginning the home buying process, you explain to them they're a third-party agent who kind of helps to stay neutral from all parties and then to stabilize any funds that are transferred into their company to make sure nobody takes their money away. So we're sort of like a protector of all sides, right? And that also is for the financial part of it and also for the legality part of it. So they can understand. However, for most of the clients who are maybe not familiar with our signing processes, they probably want you to accompany them to read through some of the documentations, whether it's loan documents or whether it's just a purchase document. It's best to accompany them to explain the documents if they have any questions, and also just to be there because you're the person that they're going to trust during this whole process.
Thank you. And Kana, do you want to share?
Yes, escrow is completely like foreign concept to many of Japanese and other foreign buyers. One thing I make sure to them is that is the like a mutual account, and then that money that you are putting in there as a token of your intention of buying the property, nobody can really touch it. And also, I at the same time explain it to them about the contingency. There's 3 contingencies. What's the contingency? That's also new. So that money there, as long as either one of the contingency is intact, you can always back out and get the full amount back, no matter how much you put in there. So most importantly, I really want to make it clear that's how it works, because they're like so anxious, especially the first time buyer. Then about the contingency, this is like really important. I don't know, I would just always probably go extreme, but like the only way that the contingency can be removed is you, buyer, is going to instruct to remove it in writing. Otherwise, no one can remove it. So you are not going to remove it unless you put the gun on your head. But if you don't remove it, sign it, it's still good. Your money is still there. That's the way I explain it. They would understand it and just trust me.
Thank you. And Alicia, you want to share?
Well, of course, yeah, I do hold my clients' hands, and when we have, if they need me at the escrow company or at the meeting with the notary, yes, I go there. Great point that Kana brought up about the contingency is just a fact. You know, California probably has the most protection for the buyers, not to mention the other countries, but out of the United States, we have the most protection for our buyers. So explaining the contingencies is definitely a very important thing. I always, well, one of the things that I run into many times is a financed client who has to pay for the title insurance for the lender's policy. And they don't understand. They say, well, we don't need it. No, we do. And there is no title policies protecting buyers in Russia or in Ukraine. They're just getting there. They're just learning how things are done in the United States, and they're following our footsteps. But it's still kind of like in a very, very undeveloped stage. So that's the subject that we talk about a lot. One of the important things that I also do is advising them to please hire a professional translation company. Hire a translator who will help you translate the document, because one of the things we don't want to do is misinterpreting or interpreting something and them misunderstanding what you're saying, and then going back to you saying, oh, I didn't understand, I didn't know that. So even for those who speak really fluent English, I always put it not necessarily on a disclosure, but at least in the email where I can have a paper trail of the fact that I advise them to use the translator, and that comes handy. And I guess that's probably about it, about the obstacles, because everyone already shared. So it's pretty much it. Thank you.
Lata, you wanted to share your thoughts on the escrow, notary, or any obstacles in the transaction?
Escrow and notary, they are not foreign words to Indians, but the escrow works differently in India. When they open escrow, what we call it earnest money deposit goes to the seller directly. So they are not aware that this money goes into escrow, that is a neutral party, and that seller doesn't get it until the transaction is complete. So it's important to explain all those things to them, and also the importance of signing and be on track what they have to do and the deadlines that they have to meet. You have to keep them, reminding them, keep them on track. So that is very important, to make them aware that what escrow is here compared to India.
Oh, yes. Alicia, you want to add something?
Yes, I forgot a very important thing that I'm not going to take too much time. I will do it very quickly. So FIRPTA requirements, I do bring it up in the conversation with the buyers in the early stage, because they need to understand that by buying a property in California, they might have certain tax consequences when they're selling this property, and this point will come at some point in life. So I want them to make an educated decision. We do have a conversation, we share the resources, and that's one of the items I wanted to remind everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. And oh, yes, Lata?
Also, it is important that you explain to them that when you make an offer, you have to specify everything. Who will pay for what? Seller will pay for this, buyer will pay for this. Home warranty, termite repairs, everything has to be decided upfront, because the buyers don't understand that this becomes a binding contract, kind of legal contract. So escrow will go by what is in black and white, what is written in that contract. Unless the seller agrees later on, you cannot change the terms of the initial offer. So that you have to really explain to them and stress that this is very important, that they understand this. That
Thank you,
they will
Lata.
be able to go and change the terms of the original contract later on.
Thank you. And we'll have Geeta to share her thoughts.
Well, I always say education is the key. I usually try to find out what clients' needs are. And I try to explain the different terminology. That's what sometimes they need to know more. Now, I can say in most countries or Middle East or even in Iran, they don't have escrow. What they do, no buyers or sellers, they keep the money, and after they sign a contract, maybe they need to go to an attorney and have the attorney sign the contract. Then the day comes, they go to the, I would say, office, legal office, to sign they don't have even title such that they have here. So we should be very pleased that here where there is a title company that could guarantee. So they will sign the paperwork, then they exchange the money. So when they come here, I try to explain the purchase contract agreement, especially how the escrow functions. What is the title again? And the loan process, the finance terms, contingency appraisal, and it's very important also inspections, because I know in many other countries, they buy the property as is, which here they should understand the inspection, how important it is, even when they get a loan. For loan, they have to know. Now, sometimes they might have a co-signer. So that's another thing. If they don't have enough money to be qualified, they have to bring the co-signer. So that's another subject that we have. And I try to update them with more statistics and article, so they can be, or they be more wise to make it a final decision and be with the confidence. Now, I would say again, you don't have to give a legal advice. You don't have to tell them about the title, how it should be, because it's different, how they should hold the title. So those are different things that are different from here. Don't give them legal advice, but try to just explain them as much as you could.
Thank you, Geeta. And Tina? Tina? Oop, you're frozen there a little bit. Tina, can you hear me now?
Yes, now, yes.
Okay, that's good. So you can
Good
now
question.
share. When you, what obstacle do you experience with your clients, foreign clients when buying the home? And are they familiar with escrow or notary services? And do they need you to help them to explain further? And any other advice that you can give out to our audience based on the transaction itself?
Okay, in Vietnam, there's no escrow. So over here, we do have escrow offices. So I do explain to them, especially they are the first time home buyer. And I have to take them to, like, handhold them and take them to escrow offices or to see an officer and explain all the documents to them. I have to explain to them about the purchase contract, that escrow goes by the purchase contract, because whatever that the buyer has to pay or the seller has to pay through escrow, and escrow has to follow. So these buyers, they do not feel comfortable unless I explain to them in Vietnamese before they sign any document. And that's how it's. so they feel comfortable with during the escrow transaction, and everything I need to explain to them in Vietnamese, because the budget contract, all the terms and condition are in English and very hard for them to understand. So that's what I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. And next we have Spencer.
I will confirm that China does not have escrow how we think of it, and they do not have title at all. First American did try to start up a similar title-based product. This was probably about 8 years ago, and unfortunately it did not take off. So that went away. I will add a lot of countries, basically the purchase will end up in a title book in a sense. So you have a physical printed copy of a title, which may or may not be recorded into a digital database type format like we are here in the US. In China, that's only recent. So a lot of our earlier buyers, when they basically did not receive an actual physical title book or anything presentation that way, they were concerned. I just paid a lot of money. Where's my title? We had to basically explain to them it's recorded. Everything is set that way. So that became part of our new introduction package, saying once you're confirmed and purchased, your transaction and your transfer gets recorded at the county level. And that's the proof that it is your property by name or however they had it vested. So that was one thing that we learned from some of our earlier transactions.
Thank you, Spencer. And Elizabeth?
With my Polish clients, a big part of the conversation is a notary service. So in Poland, notary service is completely different office than notary service here. A lot of the forms, a lot of the contract points are done in notary over there. So they're not familiar with escrow. They do not know what that is. So I have to spend a lot of time with them explaining that process. The notary in Poland prepares pretty much everything, and they send it to the court system, which the court system acts as a title. We do not have title offices there either. So that's the big difference.
Thank you so much. And we do have a couple of questions that came in the chat. Some people want to know, how do you gain the trust from overseas clients who work with you locally and be their, a main point of contact, the only contact to purchase? Like Christina was mentioning that she was servicing some clients. They already identify a home. They only came here just to sign paperwork. So Christina, you want to go first?
Sure. So I guess with some of my overseas clients, actually they are referrals from my previous clients I've worked with. So that kind of worked out where they have family and friends, and then that kind of I guess added to my network of clientele where they already heard from their good friend or family member about me as a realtor. That way it kind of gives that a little bit of a familiar sphere of influence, I guess, for their trust. And then also once they meet me here or even on the phone or on WeChat, then we have conversations where as you're explaining to them the home buying process and about escrow and about financials, you gain that trust, I guess, building the relationship through your conversations.
That's excellent. Having the referral is always the major thing that really build and solidify that trust. It sounds like that it's always the one of the easiest and always the probably the more prominent way to maintain that clientele, so they won't really go with other. Anybody else want to share on this note? Hi, Tina. Go ahead.
Okay, for Vietnamese clients or Vietnamese people, um, you know that you need to be very patient in dealing with them because they are very demanding of your time and you are quick to response, and if they call you a few times you don't answer, they think that you don't care. So always answer your first call and try to put them in your in your phone, like your contact info in your phone. So if you see the name appear, you need to answer it and return call promptly. And even late evening calls, they do talk to you in the late evening. So to earn their trust, you have to show them your dedication, your hard work, you're willing to do whatever they want, and they stick with you.
Elizabeth?
I also have a lot of clients from sphere of influence and a lot of past clients, and then of course their children and so on. So a lot of trust comes from there. How do I win the trust? Basically, I think be a good listener. A lot of times we like to talk a lot, but I find with a lot of my clients that if I listen to them and let them speak, they tend to open up and trust me more than if I would talk too much. So I would say, be a good listener. You win their trust by being honest and being truthful and listening, and of course, always holding their hand all the way through the transaction, and not only when the transaction ends, but even if they call you a month later with something, you still help them, always help them out no matter what. And that's how you keep them.
Thank you all our panelists, because we're short on time. We're almost at the end of our presentation today. I just want to remind everybody tomorrow on Thursday, July 22nd from 4 p.m. to 5:30, we do have an online mixer that this will be a good chance for you to meet people, not only your local area and also from across the border, across the state line, across nationality. And that will be your time to increase your spheres of influence and having more possibility to have working partners and referrals from other areas to here and the buying SoCal. So tomorrow, remember Thursday, July 22nd at 4 p.m. Please register to the event, and we're looking forward to see you there. And we will have a lot of people sharing their culture, their food, their drinks, even bring your own drink, of course. Unfortunately, we cannot ship you the drink, but hopefully you will join us tomorrow afternoon. And we thank you to we thank you to all our panelists today, and thank you for all the wonderful audience that we have today. Some of the questions we weren't able to answer live, we will try to get back to you offline, and please save the chat with all our panelists' information so you can contact them directly if you have any further questions. So now I'll end this panel for today, and I want to thank all of you that attended our event today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.